Hi game design students, hope you're all doing well. I am back here with another video in the turret behavior series. In the previous videos we set up our background layer here. We set up a player sprite and an enemy sprite, our turret, and we gave them the various behaviors. So if you are not to this point, go back and check out the first or second video in this series. But in this video we're going to start to get into our event sheet and program this enemy turret to target and shoot at our player, okay? So let's go ahead and add an event here. Make sure we get to this empty event sheet here. We're going to add an event. And what we want to do, I believe, let's go to turret and let's just look at some of the conditions we have under turret and under the turret behavior specifically. Okay, so turret, we have has target, is enabled, on shoot, and on target acquired. What we want to do is check this is enabled, okay, right here. And when that turret behavior is enabled, we're going to add an action, and we're going to go back to turret. Now let's look at some of the actions we have under the turret behavior as we scroll down. So we can acquire target, we can clear targets, we can unacquire target, or we can add object to target. Okay. In this case, we're going to acquire a target, right? For our game that's simple like this, we're going to, as soon as that turret behavior is enabled, we're just going to have it acquire the player sprite as a target. All right. Now, what happens with the turret behavior is when a target is acquired and it is in range, the turret itself, if we look at its behaviors, it will fire, okay, a projectile. It won't necessarily fire a projectile. It will fire every so often based on this rate of fire value right here. And what that fire actually is it's just an event. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an event. We're going to go to our turret, and we're going to go down here to our turret behaviors, okay? And we have this right here that this is on shoot, okay? So with that rate of fire, once we have a target acquired in range, it will trigger an event every so often. That event by itself doesn't do anything. We have to give it an action based on that condition. So the condition on shoot, okay, so on turret shoot, we're going to add an action, and we're going to go to turret, and this time we're just going to search for spawn, S-P-A-W-N, right? And we're going to spawn another object. That object we're going to spawn, let's go ahead and click to choose that. It's going to be our laser, okay? We want that laser to be on layer 1, right? So you can see here right above my head, we have the player layer, and that's layer 1. So we want to make sure that we have it on layer 1. So it's on the player layer and not the background layer, okay? The next thing, we want to make sure that it spawns from image point 1. If you remember when we created our turret sprite, we gave it an origin point, and then we also gave it a secondary image point on the edge, and that is where our laser will spawn from. So we want to make sure that we spawn from there. So our laser is going to spawn layer 1, image point 1. Let's click done. Let's jump in and test this thing out. So press play here. You can see, okay, our turret has acquired our player as a target and is shooting lasers at the target every so often, okay? And there it is. Beautiful. Okay? Really simple, right, with our setup to get our turret firing the laser at our player every so often. Okay? Now, what we're going to do now is we are going to add in an action for our player, okay, to shoot back at the turret. All right? So let's go to layout, and let's double click here, and we're going to add in a, actually, I'm changing my mind on this last minute. We're calling an audible, okay? What I want to do actually is I want to go over here to the project panel and see where it says laser. I want you to right click on this, and I want you to clone this object. And what this is going to do is it's going to make laser 2, okay? But what it's going to already have, it's going to already have all of our behaviors still enabled, so we don't have to do that twice. What I want to do is I want to rename it. Instead of laser, I want to rename it to player laser, okay? So let's call it player laser. And then I want to double click it to open up the sprite editor, and I want to make it a different color, okay? And me personally, I'm going to pick blue, and I'm just going to fill that with blue, okay? And then I want to drag out an instance of this right over here, okay? So we have my player laser. Okay. Now, we have our player character. We have our laser. All right. It is time to add in another object for control. Now, while we're playing this game, the only controls we have right now are just the keyboard. Okay, that's all we're doing is just the keyboard. What I want to do instead, well, not instead, in addition, is I want to add in the mouse. I want to be able to control with the mouse. So I'm going to double click and I'm going to search for mouse. Okay, and I'm just going to click it and click insert. Okay, so now this object mouse is available. Now you'll notice there's no mouse anything here. Okay. All right, it's just a way to control it. And where this is going to show up is actually over here in our event sheet, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new event, all right? And the event that we're going to do is under system. And we've used this before in other games, but under system, we're going to use every tick, okay? And every tick means every time the screen refreshes, which is about 30 to 60 times per second, okay? It's very often. So let's double click every tick, okay? And then we're gonna add an action here, okay? And the action we're gonna do is our player sprite. And what we wanna do is we want to set our angle, okay, towards a position, right? So set the angle toward position, okay? Now what it gives us are X and Y values that we want to set it to. And we're actually going to set it to a constantly shifting position, which is the position of our mouse. So to do this, for my X value, I'm going to have to do some typing here, but I'm going to type in mouse dot X. Okay? And then for Y, I'm going to type in mouse dot Y. Right? So every time the screen refreshes 30 times or 60 times per second, it's going to set the angle of our player sprite towards wherever our mouse is. Okay? So go ahead and click done here and watch what happens, right, when I do this. Oh, look at this. Okay? And I got to move my keyboard here. Okay? But I can move my sprite around now and I can aim with the mouse, right? Isn't that crazy? So I can move around and I can aim with my mouse. And all of a sudden now I'm aiming, okay? Now, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna allow our player character to fire the player laser. So I'm gonna go to add event. I'm gonna choose mouse, okay? Now, I'm gonna choose right here on click, okay? Right, left mouse button clicked, that looks good. When we click the mouse button, I'm going to add an action. I'm going to choose my player sprite. And we're going to once again search for spawn, S-P-A-W-N. And in this case, we're going to spawn another object. The object we're going to spawn is, guess what? The player laser. We're going to spawn it on layer 1 and, whoop, cancel, and image point 1, right? If you remember when we created our player sprite from the first video, we also gave it a special image point, and the reason for that was to spawn our player laser. So we have our player laser spawning on layer 1 and on image point 1. Let's go ahead and click done, okay? Let's go ahead and open our game here, and we can fly our sprite around, and you can see I'm able now to aim, boom, 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 and I'm able to click and shoot lasers. Isn't that amazing? Okay. Now the problem is here, me and this enemy can shoot at each other all day, okay, and nothing happens. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back to my layout, right? We kind of have the functionality there of our game, but now we need to set up a couple of animations and kind of make so the lasers actually do something. I think that would be a great thing for this video, but we've done enough in this video. I'm going to take a pause right here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.